Okay. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to you today. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jesse Gonzalez, and I'm here to tell you a story about one of my greatest passions, which is running, and how an incident I experienced taught me several lessons. Running a marathon can be one of the most challenging and exciting experiences for a young athlete. However, at 16 years old, I also learned that it can be one of the most dangerous. What I thought would be one of the greatest athletic feats became one of the scariest experiences I have ever gone through. I began running when I was in high school because my older brother had joined the cross country and track teams there. Running was never something that I was passionate about until that point. Each workout or race was a chance for me to push myself to a new level. I was always eager to find new ways to challenge my limits. So I thought training to run a marathon would be the perfect way. My coach had warned me against training for such a long distance, but since my sister had already signed up for the marathon, I decided it was a perfect opportunity to register and run it as well. However, I did not tell my coach prior to running the marathon that I was going to run it against his advice. When I arrived to the race, I felt prepared and ready to go. I positioned myself at the front, and I was eager to start the race. Next to me were many elite athletes. Most of them were much older than I was. Nonetheless, I was ready. I felt nerves in my stomach, but when the gun went off, I took off as I had practiced. My plan was to start steady at a relatively comfortable pace, a tactic often used to conserve energy for long races. Like the marathon, after several miles in, I began to feel fatigued. I started to realize that perhaps the marathon was not going to go as well as I had planned. At the 14-mile mark, any runner's nightmare occurred. As I passed a row of spectators, I began to feel extremely weak. My legs gave out, and I collapsed on the course. This shocked the spectators who lined the course so much that one little girl began to cry. I struggled to get back up, but couldn't stand steadily. It felt like my legs were refusing to work, no matter how hard I struggled. Eventually, I was able to get back up. Some spectators expressed their concerns, but I was so embarrassed that I refused their help. I finished the race, and those remaining 12.2 miles were the most grueling I have ever run. Since the race wasn't far from home, I was able to slowly walk back to my house. When I returned, I wrapped myself in a blanket and passed out on the living room on my couch. My parents and sister were waiting for me at the finish line, and they had no idea what happened on the course. So when they got home, they were extremely worried about me. Eventually, I began to feel extremely sick. My family and I decided that I needed to go to the hospital. After doing tests, the doctors determined that the marathon had caused my body to go into overdrive, and my kidneys were unable to filter the waste from the damaged muscle cells fast enough. This essentially caused a buildup of toxins in my body, which stopped my muscles from functioning properly. As a young athlete, this was terrifying news. After a short stay in the hospital, along with fluids and medication, I was able to return home. After a few follow-up visits, I was able to gradually start running again. And I had to admit to my coach that I attempted to run the marathon against his advice, but thankfully he didn't kick me off the team. During and after my stay at the hospital, I feared that I might never be able to run again. However, my experiences over the last 8 years have shown me that that was not the case. Since the marathon, I've run countless track, cross country, and road races, and my running has only improved since. If I've learned anything from this experience, it's that setbacks can be overwhelming, but they can be overcome with hard work, motivation, and drive. All right, and that is all I have for you all. Thank you.